My name is Nasir Muhammad Bala. I'm excited to help you learn front-end development from the very basics to building real projects. I've been building websites and web apps using HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and framework like React for 3 years now. I remember how confusing it was when I started, so I want to make things simpler and more enjoyable for you. So, in this series, we will start with the absolute basics like how websites work, HTML tags, styling with CSS, and the rest before we moving on to React. So, this is just like the introduction video to website development. So, we are just going to talk about how the website works and then some stuff you need to know in website development and also just like a guide. So I would be moving down. Okay. As someone who spent countless hours coding and experimenting with websites, I know that front end and back end website development can feel a bit overwhelming at the beginning. So you might be asking like what is front end development and back end development. So let's even start with what is even website development. Website development broadly refers to the tasks and processes involved in creating and maintaining a website. This includes everything from markup and coding to scripting, network configuration, and then CMS development, that is content management system. So web development is very important because over 5.52 billion people are connected through the internet, and it helps in businesses. It's help businesses grow. So there are two differences between there are differences between web development and web programming. Web development and web programming sound very familiar, and they are, but there is one important distinction. Web development refers to overall process of creating website and web application, including project design, layout, coding, content creation, and functionality. It involves using a combination of programming languages, tools, and frameworks to bring a website or web application to life. So that is web development. Web programming, on the other hand, specifically refers to coding and scripting of a website, whether the back front end or back end. It just involves writing of codes. So websites are files stored on server, which are computers that host, fancy name for store files for website. These servers are connected to a giant network called internet. So each of these websites you are seeing are connected, interconnected. That is why they are called internets. Now, how do we access these websites? This is where websites come into, this is where browser come into play. Browser are computer programs that load website via your internet connection, such as Google Chrome or Safari, while the computer used to access these websites are known as clients. And each of these systems you are seeing are computers that are used to access the website. They have their own IP address. IP stands for Internet Protocol, that is Internet Protocol Address. An IP is a unique string of numbers. Each device has an IP address to distinguish itself from the billions of websites and devices connected via the internet. Okay, so we also have HTTP. HTTP, a Hypertext Transfer Protocol, is what connects our website request to the remote server that houses all website data. It is a set of rules that define how messages should be sent over the internet. It allows us to jump from site pages and website. That means navigating from different websites, moving on from this website, like from Google to Facebook, from Facebook to YouTube. So all this can be done by using the hypertext transfer protocol, which is just like a request. So understanding HTTP is very important for all aspects of web development, but I think it is especially essential if you want to go into back-end development. So we are still coming to back-end development, which I'll explain better. So what is coding? Coding is refers to writing of code for servers and application using programming language. They are called languages because they include vocabulary or grammatical rules for communicating with computers. They also include special commands, abbreviations, and punctuation that can only be read by devices and program. So as you all know, we have languages such as Java, JavaScript, we have Python, we have Golang, we have C++, we have C Sharp, and the rest. So now we move into front end. Front end or client side. The reason why it's called client side because clients tend to interact with front end more. Though most of what's happening in background also involves the back end, but they don't know about that because it's encrypted. Front end is the side of a website or software that you see and interact with as an internet user. When website information is transferred from a server, as the back end, to a browser, front end coding language allow the website to function without having to continually communicate with the internet. Front end codes allow users to interact with the website, play videos, expand or minimize images, highlight text, and more. Web developers who work on front end coding work on client side development. On the contrary, what does back end mean? Back end is the side that you don't see when you use the internet. It's a digital infrastructure. To non-developer, it looks like a bunch of numbers, letters, and symbols. There are more back-end coding language than front-end language. That is because browsers at the front end only understand HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Meanwhile, a server at the back end can be configured to understand pretty much any language. Content Management System (CMS) is a web application or series of programs used to create and manage web content. So also, what is cybersecurity? There are always malicious actors looking to find vulnerabilities in websites to expose private information, steal data, and crash servers. Cybersecurity is the practice of securing data, network, and computer from these threats. So, my journey in web development began in the vibrant world of front-end development, where I love turning code into visual appealing interactive pages. Later on, I dive into back-end development, which I'm currently learning. So, uncovering the nuts and bolts that power a website, learning Python and Ruby, but started learning JavaScript where I was familiar with where I use JavaScript for the front end and also Node.js, which is also a JavaScript framework for the back end also. So front end development, back end, and also full stack. Full stack involve both the front end and then the back end. So we also have website development, which has developers which are front end, back end, full stack, and also we have desktop development, usually using languages like C plus and C sharp. Mobile development also using JavaScript, which is React Native, and then also using languages like Python also, and then Java. And we also have game development, embedded system development, security development. Yeah. So for this course, we are specifically focusing on front end development. That is for front end developers. So as I have already discussed, front end development focuses on creating the visual and interactive element of a website. It involves designing and building the user-facing site, what you see essentially when you pull up a website in a web browser. In my perspective, front-end development is likely the easiest way to begin a career in web development. That said, as with any other aspect of this field, it will have a learning curve. I will discuss this in the next section when I share a general roadmap for getting started with front-end development. So here are some of the most popular front-end development language. Having an understanding of this would be essential as a front-end developer. We have HTML, hypertext markup language. We also have CSS and also JavaScript. So for HTML, it's like the backbone of any web page. Just take for instance a car, the body of the car, the iron, the rims, and also some part of the car that like some like the it's just they are just like the backbone of the car. So that is what HTML is. While CSS is just like painting, the interior design, the lightning. So style is just like the muzzle of CSS for styling and visual appearance of a website. It allows developers to customize colors, fonts, layouts, and other design elements. While JavaScript is just like the engine of the car that is supposed to power up the car so that it can start working, it can move. So JavaScript is widely used for client-side scripting. JavaScript generally enhance the user experience by making websites more dynamic and engaging. And it has a lot of framework, which we have React, Next, we have Vue.js, and many more. So for the front end web development roadmap, we would start by understanding how the basics we start by understanding the basics of how website work, which we have already done now. And the next line of action would be to learn HTML to create a basic web page with HTML, and then also use CSS to style your web page, add interactivity using JavaScript, deploy your website, and then also would move to learning front end frameworks such as React, and then also we'll learn how to use GitHub, and also start working on projects to further enhance our skills. So thank you as we come to the end of this section. We'll meet in the next section where we'll start fully building websites with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Thank you.